what's the philosophy? Why is the Cadillac parked in the garage by the administration? And why has the war on ISIS gone so poorly to date? President Obama said he doesn't have a strategy yet on ISIS. Besides that, why is it going so poorly?
Yeah, and I think that it's, in order to get into this thing, the number one thing the president has to do, if money, he sort of leans on the military as though it's our problem, and it's not. The president, and I've said this publicly a couple of times now, the president has to decide what does he want the United States policy in the Middle East to be. If he wants us to be in a dominant leader role, it doesn't mean that we're going to put thousands and thousands of troops in there. It just means that we're going to demonstrate some leadership in everything that we do. Right now, we're not. So it's very unclear what the president's policy is. His statement was, we're going to defeat and destroy the Islamic State. Basically, that's essentially what he said. We're going to defeat and destroy. That's not a policy. That's a very low-level tactic, and you tell your military that. You got to have an overarching policy that brings all kinds of capabilities in there, none of which are happening today. Even though you'll get a lot of briefings, and you'll go to a lot of presentations, and a lot of these think tanks, and especially in Washington D.C. that are saying, "Yep, we're doing this, we're doing that." The White House will show you this 9 lines of operation that they're following. It's all bullshit, believe me, and it is. I mean, you can't sit here and have paid any attention, and I believe in a crowd like this is switched on to the degree where you're watching it. It's not working. It's not working. So the military component of the strategy, if you really want to have a military component, is you unleash these capabilities, these very capable people that we have, and let them work with the Iraqis who we did train. There's some Iraqi special forces are not bad. You let us work with those individuals, and believe me, the pressure that will be applied to this ISIL, ISIS, IS, whatever you want to call them, they're radical Muslims, period, from my perspective. And these are people that, there's a group of them that if you're going to capture them, you have to put them in jail forever. If you're, the better thing to do is you have to kill some of them. And frankly, the individual who was running, because I hope he's dead now, but this guy al-Baghdadi who you hear about, we hunted him for 3 years. 3 years we captured him. We captured al-Baghdadi, the guy that's out there running the show now. Captured him. We put him into, turn him over to the Iraqis, they put him into prison, and then he was released by the Iraqi government. So he's back out. So we need to have a really clear policy from the administration, and then if for the military component of that policy, just tell the military what you want them to do, and then allow them to go do that. Don't tell them you want them to go destroy somebody and then literally tie their hands behind their back. I mean, the things that you're hearing, and reading about airplanes going out and coming back without dropping any ordnance is true. It's very true. It's very true. So there is every capability to really put relentless amount of pressure on these guys, so others that are out there, the Iraqis, could actually do something about them. But I hate to belabor this, but we're a little bit we're shooting behind the curve now, because the Iranians are now deeply involved in Iraq, and Iran is now running an organization called the Badr Corps. Okay, the Badr Corps. So the Badr Corps is headed up by a general by the name of Al-Amri, and he's also the Minister of Transportation for Iraq. Now the Badr Corps is about 30 to 40,000 soldiers. They're very, very good. They're very well armed, funded, all by Iran. So we created, in the period of time that I was in Iraq, we created a task force, Task Force 17, to do nothing but go after the Badr Corps, to go and capture and kill the Badr Corps. Why? Because they were killing Americans. They were fighting us while we were trying to fight Al-Qaeda in Iraq. And they were also killing a lot of Sunnis. I mean, goes way back. The guy in charge of the Badr Corps, who's also the Minister of Transportation, if the current president of Iraq goes the way of his predecessors, this guy is likely to be the next president of Iraq. And he's totally aligned. I mean, the others have been somewhat aligned, but this guy's totally aligned to Iran. So Iran is is establishing themselves as the powerhouse in the Middle East. Trust me, they're doing this in a big, big way. In a big way. And that's why you see what's happening in Yemen, and that's why Syria, they've been so behind Syria. The guy, Al-Amari, who's running this Badr Corps, you'll see him periodically because he tweets out his photos with him walking side by side with Qasem Soleimani, the head of external operations for Iranian Special Forces, who 2 days ago was the #1 terrorist in the world. I mean, this is what's happening. We've allowed this to happen because we have had a hands-off policy, frankly. We've had a hands-off policy. And, I will tell you, if you don't want to listen to your military, you don't want to listen to your intelligence leadership, then get rid of all of them, okay? Now, I was very, very vocal for a time, and I was gotten rid of. And so, but I can sit here tonight and tell you that I'm very comfortable with where I sit, because this is something that is we don't feel it when you're wandering around in New York City here and you go to some nice restaurant. But trust me, I mean, there is unbelievable evil that exists. It just does. I'm sorry, but it does, and it has to be dealt with. And it is good that we've got a military, but you've got to make sure that you don't just go, well, it's our military, and it's those guys that go do that. Okay, we will lose if we don't do the right things over time. That's what I'm concerned about as the country goes forward here over the next probably decade or so.